From here, Bo-Katan's path evolves rapidly. Recognizing the fragmented nature of their people, she takes it upon herself to reunite the clans. This begins with an act of humility, joining the Children of the Watch, the orthodox sect she once scoffed at. By walking the way with Din and being accepted by the Armorer, she gains the legitimacy needed to speak across the divides of Mandalorian culture. She becomes a bridge between ideologies, between the helmeted faithful and the more liberal warriors of her past. The mission to reunite Mandalorians isn't just political, it's deeply personal. Bo-Katan reaches out to her former followers, including Axe Woves and Koska Reeves, now mercenaries operating independently. She challenges Axe in combat for leadership, not just to win back their loyalty, but to prove she has not lost her edge. Her victory, however, doesn't fully sway them, until Din makes a pivotal declaration. He recounts how Bo-Katan saved him from the warrior who had defeated him, making her the rightful wielder of the Darksaber. This symbolic moment is profound. It not only passes the blade, but restores her honor in the eyes of all Mandalorians present. Bo-Katan now commands both traditionalists and progressives. Her new army is diverse. Children of the Watch, Night Owls, scattered clans, and even war-hardened survivors who've lived on Mandalore in hiding. This is no longer a quest for personal power. It's about restoring a people, a culture, and a planet. The Siege of Mandalore Redux. Bo-Katan leads a coalition to reclaim Mandalore, knowing that Imperial remnants, under the command of Moff Gideon, have made the planet their stronghold. With aid from Din, Grogu in IG-12, Paz Vizsla, the Armorer, and the other clans, they devise a two-pronged assault. One in the skies, one on the ground. The team descends into the heart of the Great Forge, where they're ambushed by Gideon's advanced stormtroopers, wearing Beskar alloy armor and using jetpacks. The battle is brutal, and losses are heavy. In one of the most heartbreaking moments, Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself to allow others to escape. His final stand, taking down entire waves of enemies before being executed by the Praetorian Guards, showcases the Mandalorian code of honor and loyalty. Bo-Katan is visibly shaken, but has no time to grieve. As the final confrontation nears, Din Djarin fights his way to Gideon with Grogu's help. Meanwhile, Bo-Katan leads the remaining warriors into open battle. Her skill in combat is unmatched. When she finally confronts Moff Gideon in the underground chamber, she's met with cold arrogance. Gideon boasts of his Dark Trooper armor and mocks Mandalorian tradition. But Bo-Katan stands firm. Mandalorians are stronger together. In a symbolic twist, it's not Bo-Katan alone who defeats Gideon. It's teamwork. Din, Grogu, and Bo-Katan all play their parts. Grogu, using the Force, protects them from the fiery explosion that consumes Gideon's suit, ending his reign. For the first time in decades, the Great Forge is relit. Mandalore is back in Mandalorian hands. Bo-Katan stands with the Darksaber in hand, surrounded by warriors of every creed. She has not only reclaimed the planet, but also brought together a fractured people. And then, the Darksaber is destroyed, crushed in Gideon's grip during the fight. But perhaps that too was symbolic. Bo-Katan no longer needs a blade to lead. Her right to rule comes from action, unity, and sacrifice. In the closing scenes, she oversees the formal induction of new Mandalorians in the living waters, standing shoulder to shoulder with Din and the Armorer. While Din chooses a quieter path, adopting Grogu and settling in Navarro, Bo-Katan remains to lead, govern, and defend her home. Legacy and reflection. Bo-Katan's arc is one of the richest in Star Wars television. She's been a terrorist, a warrior, a queen, a commander, a fallen leader, and finally, a unifier. Her journey stretches from the Clone Wars to Rebels to the Mandalorian, a rare, long-form character development rarely seen in the franchise. She has fought alongside Ahsoka Tano, clashed with Darth Maul, held the Darksaber twice, lost it twice, and ultimately proved she doesn't need it to rule. Her scars, physical, emotional, and political, give her weight. She's not a symbol of hope like Luke or Rey. She's a symbol of earned leadership, of a culture rediscovering itself. Season 3 ends with Mandalore not yet fully healed, but with the best chance it's had in generations. And at its heart stands Bo-Katan Kryze, battle-worn, fiercely loyal, and finally, whole. Satine Kryze, Bo-Katan's story begins and often returns to her older sister, Duchess Satine Kryze, the pacifist leader of Mandalore's new Mandalorians. Satine ruled from the capital city of Sundari, emphasizing nonviolence and neutrality, an ideology at odds with Bo-Katan's warrior upbringing. When Bo-Katan left Mandalore to join Death Watch, she wasn't just choosing a political faction, she was rejecting her sister's entire belief system. Their relationship was torn apart during the Clone Wars, especially during the Siege of Mandalore, when Bo-Katan sided with Death Watch and Satine with the Republic and Jedi. Tragically, after Maul seized control and Governor Gregar Typho, Satine's protector, betrayed her, Bo-Katan was forced into exile while Satine was captured and ultimately assassinated under Palpatine's orders. The brutal moment when Bo-Katan found her sister's body shattered her. Not only was Satine gone, but so was the Mandalore she could have shared with her. That loss haunted Bo-Katan through decades of hidden warfare. Yet that pain also shaped her. She refused to become a silent guardian of a dead planet. Instead, she honored Satine by forging her own path, but always carrying regret for what could have been. That emotional scar surfaces again when Mandalore is finally reclaimed. It was never just politics, it was personal. 2. Mutual honor, Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan. The partnership between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano forms one of Mandalore's most unexpected alliances. It begins during the final days of the Clone Wars on Coruscant. Bo-Katan hands Maul the Darksaber. Later, after Maul seizes Mandalore, Bo-Katan links up with Ahsoka Tano, who leads clone forces to rescue the capital. They fight together in Sundari, infiltrating the palace and cornering Maul. Ahsoka's calm, principled Jedi sense contrasts sharply with Bo-Katan's fierce pragmatism. But despite their differences, they share a foundation of mutual respect. Bo-Katan admires Ahsoka's clarity and compassion. Ahsoka trusts Bo-Katan's unwavering loyalty to Mandalore. That bond resurfaces in Rebels, when Bo-Katan agrees to leave the Darksaber with Sabine Wren, not for personal power but in hope of unifying Mandalorian resistance. While they never fight side by side in The Mandalorian, the emotional link remains. Bo-Katan knows that Ahsoka will keep Grogu safe. Meanwhile, Jabba makes decisions informed by that alliance, like when Bo-Katan chooses not to pursue Gideon immediately, to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. These are not tactical hesitations, they are deeply moral ones, and they trace directly back to the Jedi she once trained with. 3. An unlikely bond, Din Djarin and Bo-Katan. Perhaps the most compelling relationship in the series is between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. When they first met, Bo-Katan shocked Din by removing her helmet, an act he considered sacrilegious. But that discomfort sparked something deeper, a clash of the way versus pragmatic reality. Across season 2 and 3, the relationship evolves. Reluctant allies become allies of necessity, then allies of mutual respect, and finally, co-commanders. On Tython, Bo-Katan refuses to train Grogu, but still points Din to where he can find Ahsoka. On Mandalore, Din defends her in public, stating plainly, "She saved me from the person who defeated me. She deserves the Darksaber." That moment is a turning point. Bo-Katan may seem aloof, but she values honor above all else. During the siege, Din walks through collapsing corridors covered in mud, fire flickering across cracked walls, fighting dark troopers with Bo-Katan at his back. They exchange short, direct words. No emotional flourish, just tactical trust. Their bond isn't about romance or friendship. It's forged in steel and shared purpose. 4. The Clans in the Forge. Mandalorian cultural revival Bo-Katan works tirelessly to unite Mandalore's fractured clans, the Orthodox Children of the Watch, the Progressive Night Owls, scattered survivalists, and exiled outcasts. In Chapter 22, Guns for Hire, on the world Plazer 115, she challenges Axwoves, a former subordinate who has taken leadership after the Empire's retreat. She defeats him in ritual combat, but it's Din's public declaration that truly makes her the rightful wielder of the Darksaber. That scene, in a blaze-lit hangar, troopers whispering behind boxes, symbolized the unity of branches. Later, she recruits Koska Reeves and Paz Vizsla, each from their own factions. These characters represent unique Mandalorian identities, Nordish warriors, mercenaries, children indoctrinated into the Watch. Despite differences, they converge under Bo-Katan's banner. The culmination is the assault on Mandalore's Great Forge, the green glow of molten Beskar, echoing chants, the roar of jetpacks overhead. Mandalore is born again. Paz dies defending the fallback line, holding a makeshift Beskar cannon against stormtroopers. Bo-Katan kneels, pushes the forge's alchemical furnace lever flame sputter. The forge ignites. The planet's reclaiming begins with legacy, sacrifice, and the unity of clans. 5. Battles and key events. Scene by scene. Mandalore descent and living waters. Din swims through flooded tunnels. Ahsoka's silhouette faded on his mind. He nearly drowns. Bo-Katan pulls him free. In the depths, beneath cracked stone arches and submerged droid shells, she sees the mythosaur massive, horned silhouette gliding in the dark. It shakes her conviction. Mandalore is still alive, so are its legends. Plazir 15 Duel and Darksaber Ceremony. Bo-Katan draws the Darksaber in twilight, the blades hum echoing off steel walls. Sparks arc over Mandalorian crests as she defeats Axe. Din steps in, declares her right in front of stunned onlookers. The Darksaber hums to her control. Its visual poetry clash of steel, acceptance of legacy, affirming a rightful ruler. Siege of the Great Forge troopers pour through steel gates. Dark troopers clank in Beskar armor. Bo-Katan rides in on a hovering skiff, drawing her blaster to clear choke points. Paz shouts final prayers before detonating an explosive, buying time for survivors. Bo-Katan runs, blood-streaked, directly into Moff Gideon's central chamber blades drawn, banter sharp. She fights with blades and fists, while Din sweeps in with explosions. Grogu uses force to shield them. Moff Gideon's armor collapses in on itself. He falls. Then the forge fires to life. Induction by the flame. In final quiet scenes, survivors gather around a crater filled with sacred water. Newborn Mandalorians, helmeted and unhelmeted, immerse themselves shoulder deep, while Bo-Katan, alongside the armorer and Din, stand witness. The holy waters glow blue. Grogu, floating, watches silently. Mandalore finally found its way home. 6. Conflict and moral complexity. Bo-Katan is far from perfect or one-dimensional. She abandoned Satine. She reluctantly accepted power. She once allied with Death Watch. Yet each choice comes with costs. Even when unified, her followers later doubt her, and peace on Mandalore remains fragile. Her belief in honor means she never steals power. When Din claims the Darksaber by defeating Gideon, she pushes back, refusing to take it off his neck. Yet when risk demands it, like under Imperial siege, she leads decisively. She sacrifices resources, trust, even life under siege, all for the larger cause. 7. Legacy and symbolism. Bo-Katan embodies the modern Mandalorian paradox: tradition versus adaptation, creed versus survival. She never denies her lineage, but she also proves Mandalorians can evolve. The child in the forge, the mythosaur reborn, the Great Forge reignited. These aren't just metaphors, they're real, physical testaments to her legacy. In the words of the armorer, because you will, forever. Bo-Katan's legend lives. She gave Mandalore back its way through steel, sacrifice, unity, and most importantly, leadership earned by action, not birthright.